Coming this Saturday night to the Carteret Performing Arts Center in Carteret, it's the Smithereens, and my guest this morning is Smithereens guitarist Jim Babjak. Good morning and welcome to WDHA again.
Good morning. Wow, it's always a pleasure.
You know, it's going to be a little less chaotic than the last time I had you on, which was my last official full-time morning show that Friday of September 20th, and we couldn't figure out how to get you and Dennis on at the same time. So this won't be nearly as messed up technically.
All right.
How's the fall tour been going?
Fantastic. The audiences have been great everywhere. It's so humbling, and we're just having a ball, And Severo and Mike, our bass players, couldn't make this run for personal reasons, but Graham Maby from the Joe Jackson band is a longtime friend of ours, and he was available, so he's been doing these shows, and he'll be at Carteret also.
That kind of anticipated the next question that I had: who would be the bass player? He's an amazing player, so yeah, no slouch in that department at all.
Yeah, no kidding.
How long did it take to get him up to speed on the Smithereens songs?
Not long at all. He's played with us here and there in the past, I don't know, 15 years or whatever. We re-recorded In a Lonely Place back in 2005, and Graham was available for that. So the re-record of that has Graham on it. So we've known each other a long time. And Cindy, our tour manager, she booked Joe Jackson back when she was in college, because she was part of that the college what are they concert committee. So she was one of the first people to hire Joe Jackson and play at their school in 1979 or something like that. And so they've been friends ever since.
And you have a special keyboard player as well, another person who I know you've performed with in the past, but he brings a whole different dynamic to the Smithereens music, and that would be Andy Burton.
Yeah, he played with us a long time ago, and I figured I'll if he's not busy. He was supposed to be playing with Cyndi Lauper or something, and but he's available, so we're going to bring him in for that show, and we're going to do a couple of Christmas songs too, because we have that Christmas album out, and might as well do a couple of songs from that.
Absolutely. And Andy, a lot of times that I've seen you a couple of times with him, but a lot of times that he's played with you has added kind of a bluesier element. A lot of people know you guys from those influences of the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Kinks and what have you, but there's a different side that he brings to your music.
Wow, I never noticed that before. I guess I'm in my own bubble. I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm doing.
For WDHA listeners who actually happen to be watching this on video, we do want to point out that Jim has a fax machine behind him. And not only that, but it is a working fax machine.
Yeah. I use it a couple times a year for contracts and things like that, medical stuff. And my neighbors all usually call me and say, hey, I need to fax something. I don't want to go down to wherever they do that sort of stuff now, and they charge probably $1 a page or whatever. But yeah, it's functional. It's good.
And you were telling me before we came on the air this morning, Jim, that it's actually one of the most secure ways that you can send a document.
Yeah, it hasn't. They haven't figured out how to hack it yet. So, a lot of industries like the banking industry and stuff like that, the medical industry, they use fax machines internally to secure their documents.
We still have one at WDHA. I don't think it's been used in the last 2.5 years, and a lot of it was just spam. We were getting a lot of roofing people, which, interestingly enough, we could use some work on the roof of the radio station, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I do unhook it for that reason, and then I plug it back when I need it. And interestingly, those old or it doesn't spew out all the junk mail when you plug it back in, so that's a good feature.
We've talked about you having two guest musicians with you at the Carteret Performing Arts Center this Saturday night, and you're having not one but two guest vocalists as well, with Marshall Crenshaw and Robin Wilson. How is that dynamic going to work out? Who's picking what songs?
You know, that's a tough one. We gotta, because everybody wants to do like the big hits, so we have to toss a coin or something.
And I've noticed, when you have them, because I've seen you with both Robin and Marshall, is the set list changes a little bit. Robin pulls a couple of different things out, and I think is he playing more guitar these days?
Yeah, yeah, he is. It's working out fine. He doesn't play guitar on everything, so yeah, he's very good at it, and it's more fun for him, I suppose. So, those other songs that between Marshall and Robin, they get to pick what their favorite deep cuts are. So that's how that works. Naturally, we got to do the more popular songs, but we'll add some cool stuff to it.
Listening to you guys when Marshall is with you, it brings back memories of the original band when you had two guitars in it, and then with Robin, and when he wasn't playing as much guitar, it kind of harkened back to when Pat had lost the ability to play. Pat Denizio, of course, we're talking about, and you became more of a power trio.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed that. Not that Pat couldn't play, but I enjoyed the three of us playing together because that's how we started out before we met Pat. We had been playing for many years before we met Pat, and so it was like an instant band by the time we got together with him. And so yeah, it's fun because I always like the Who live at Leeds and that sort of stuff. The power trio, as we call it.
That's probably one of my top three live albums of all time, that Live at Leeds record. It was just so good. It jumped off the speakers.
Yeah, and as a kid, that's what that's what I aspired to. I started doing those P-Towns and windmills when I was like 14 years old, and the thing is, like, I can't stop doing it. I remember when our first album came out and we went on tour. I'm like, should I do it? Should I do it? And it just came naturally, and I didn't want to think we're just a copy band of the Who. So, but I integrated it pretty well, I think.
Well,
And
truth be
I
told,
can't stop doing it.
it's
It's just
fun. And
it's
truth be told, and I'll hold my thumb up, although you really can't see it, but there's a little scar here.
oh, I have many of those. It's dangerous because people don't realize how fast you're going, and you got to hit that chord. I mean, a couple of times I miss, and then I'll seriously cut myself. I've had stitches. One time I hit the body of the guitar, and I had my hand was black and blue for a week. But yeah, and then in the early days, of course, the drinking involved. I used to miss a lot, and there was blood everywhere. But it was fun. It
Well,
was
this conversation is taking a weird turn.
right. There's blood everywhere. That reminds me, one of my guitars was hanging at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, and it's actually in the film L.A. Story with Steve Martin and whatever. So there's a scene where they're in the Hard Rock Cafe, and you can see my white Rickenbacker right above their heads. They're sitting at the bar. Well, that Hard Rock isn't there anymore, but I digress. When I saw that guitar like a year later, they didn't clean it, and there was still blood stains underneath the
Oh my
strings.
gosh.
I know, right? They had my DNA.
There's a crazy trip down memory lane. So you mentioned that you're doing obviously the hits and some deep cuts and some Christmas stuff as well. What about new stuff in the future?
Well, we already started recording, and Mike, our original bass player, is involved with that too. And I have songs picked out for Marshall to sing and for Robin to sing, and I think I'm even going to sing one or two, and Dennis is going to sing also. So it's already in the works. We already started recording it, so I don't want to rush it at this point, and then we have other archival material to release, like the Lost album. There's more Lost stuff. I don't want to call it Lost 2, but I'll have to think of a good title. But it's fabulous stuff with Pat on it that was unfinished back in 2000, between 1999 and 2000 whatever. So there's a lot of cool stuff there that we can work on and release.
I've often wondered about that, where you just let a record or songs rather sit for a while. Susanna Hoffs just released an album of material. She called it the Lost Record, and I think Jim, those songs go back probably 30 years to the early 90s. And for whatever reason, she never released them until just maybe a month or so ago. And finally, the time felt right for it.
I know. Same thing with my solo material that I've recorded. It's over 30 years old now, and people that have heard it said, "What's the deal?" Well, life just gets in the way. I mean, I had this day job for 20 years, and I concentrated just on Smithereen stuff. But with those recordings, there was just no outlet for it, and now it's a little bit easier to get it up there on and release it on physical media too.
Well,
I mean, because people our age still do listen. I listen to vinyl every day, and and CDs in my. I still have a car with a CD player. There's no fax machine in my car, but I do.
I'm glad to hear that. You can check them out this Saturday night, the Smithereens at the Carteret Performing Arts Center. Marshall Crenshaw, Robin Wilson, Graham Maby, Andy Burton, and Jimmy and Dennis, of course. Tickets and information at carteretpack.com. And of course, you can get all the information on the Smithereens on their website at officialsmithereens.com. Jim Babjak, thanks as always for your time, and I will see you Saturday night.
My pleasure, and can't wait to see you.